one of the things the MPP Safano Ken Ofori-Atta and Akufo-Addo decisions. Makasem we asked several times. Now me come on for say me support Bawumia ntina me Akufo-Addo dey. You see, I this a why I won't say the system national. And in an interview I'm no, you clearly understand some of the things I've said. Because going into the election, Obiaka said economy. And one person who was so central to everything. MPCC Yempeno, Yamanetina was 7 years. Papa Yadi Mukre Manetina ho, Ken Ofori-Atta. Maybe me a video, me sambe pan which I say I thought say me maybe I was too emotional in the video and I conceded on that front. But then my share interview with my way because Papa no. In fact, one of the people my kind one near match. Roman Race School Wakra, Mama Niji, co-founders back on. The longest serving managing director of Cow Bank, one of Ghana's most successful banks. Cow. Oyejuma what 30 years. Frank Edu, why interview be na areho or pass a certain damning verdict on Ken Ofori-Atta and Akufo-Addo. Na Nkrofo say NSM people show na kasa debut wo mo ka kire wo. Enye sa kasa tan asabi bi tena TV so na radio so ka kire amanfo. Me bo bi kire we bra me pension video no. A me repan ho cho later me bo bi kire mo sa kasa tan bi ka. I pass a verdict what to John Mahama for president. A very important say message will get to the president because Papa we were bobra. Or no more beka say abansi kana mani ye from the Krom Tafo Eastern region wa bobra Ken Ofori-Atta nuano no ebusua tente ba ni nuano no kra kase ya na me yidie me sika be na maburagu a me kasa ba we mu kasa ten na me dey bro on the critical knowledge and make sure to subscribe am me o subscribe click the notification me the video bi otuma obehunu atma me kasa ya tintin na ya brand we friend Frank Edu Oyejuma Car Bank several years, almost 30 years, on the longest serving managing director for Car Bank. Or retired at the age of 57. And no Car Bank of Ghana and the forcing because no contract any idea. And no nyamasem wabobra. In fact, only financing system and no because at a point when I save a Car Bank. A friend could save Unibank because KNUS fresh 2014, 2015 go me a baby guna munami save a Car Bank. Until I want to me read about him 27 years in the banking sector. On what a Car Bank, now one of the key people, now a financial analyst. We remember the managing director of Car Bank several years. Now I know your interview on Joy FM. Join you, sorry. PMS Press on advancement senior. The credit video near credit to Joy News. And I want busano about so when you are crying Ken Ofori-Atta. When any damn paba akoso. A DNA call wrong. See papa na sem na okan no.
We are kind of family.
Yes.
So Ken Ofori-Atta's grandfather. Let me get it right. Grandfather. Ofori-Atta the first is the half brother of JB Dankwa. And JB Dankwa is my grand uncle. JB Dankwa is my grandmother's brother. So, and my first trip to the US, I stayed with Ken. We slept in the same bed.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's the relationship.
Seeing that his family and you know him, when you look back on his tenure as finance minister, what would your verdict be?
Disaster.
Disaster?
Of course. Look, if it wasn't disastrous between him and the president, the people of Ghana wouldn't have voted the way they voted. It's not me saying. The verdict is captured in the results of the elections. It's as simple as that. You know, you do not run the economy where almost everybody is suffering, okay, and expect that the people will not object. And that's what the voters of this country did last year.
I mean, it's fascinating you say that. I mean, I remember very vividly when he was appointed. There was a renewed sense of hope and optimism because of his background.
Yeah.
You know him. You slept in his bed in the U.S. And he really had built a reputation from the U.S.
Correct.
with
data bags.
Yeah. So everybody thought if you really needed a man, a finance minister for our time, Ken was the guy because of his international experience, going to bring all that to bear. But here you are, 8 years on, you described his tenure as disastrous. What happened?
I don't know what happened. I mean, I remember when he was appointed, I sent him a message congratulating him and urging him to do the best he could for this country and leave a legacy, you know. And that's what we all expected. We were all very hopeful. But subsequent events have betrayed that hope.
Yes. Owie no and o say asamba ko ye ne ya a wonu say often check no Ofori-Atta da ene Akufo-Addo e pensioner sika omode omonsa kai.
Why would you do that? Why would you go after pensioners' money? It's one thing that people can never forgive Akufo-Addo and Ken Ofori-Atta for.
You lost money.
I lost money. Well, pensioners picketed. The former CJ came to picket with us, etc.
So you were also on the Sun. You were on the Sun picketing.
No, I didn't go. I didn't go to picket.
But those colleagues, pensioners of yours,
yeah,
did.
Those who were working the technical details behind the scene and those who were vociferous out front there, etc. You know, but I lost money in the Eurobond.
Yeah, you said those who lost money will never forgive Akufo-Addo and Ken. You have never forgiven them.
No, I will not. I will not, because I saw them live large.
You saw them live large?
Yes, they live large, you know, and so why do you want to live large at the expense of my pension? You understand me?
Yeah.
It's something that should not be trivialized at all. To have a cabinet meeting and decide that in solving the country's debt problems, I'm going to include pensioners. That's dark.
Yes. But that's awesome. Mama, yen kan yi. Nkrofo a, baby am ye adwuma yi. Kofo frew. Yes, mama efi mu show. Yodo masem to. Ebi eya. Eya. Sometimes because of you can say privileged information. Obi a customer share the personal life. And that's what the two bonting. But instead ni be eya. Papa. Eya. Na owie no ana o share the issues on other national issues. I no kan galamsey. I say makanda. Say anya careful san mambofuei. Mo be wi ni city mo be in this parliament. Speaker na kura ka send the parliament dem bebre na galamsey. Speaker na ka kuromu a. Ya hweyi a Ghana ebese ne Pablo Escobar. The Medellin no Sedan cartel. Omoye Colombia no. Ghana bedru ho.
I don't fault them. You probably should even go to some country and open your skies to them and say they should use drone technology and bomb all these galamsey sites because you can map them. You know, what is this? I mean, I still don't understand why you would encourage, and you know, it's going to be like Colombia, where eventually the cartels running this galamsey business will control the politicians because they can fund you to become an MP.
They're actually funding. I mean, CDD have done campaign financing, illicit flow into campaigns financing, and a lot of it is coming from the. In fact, the speaker himself acknowledged and they reprimanded his own MPs.
And they say now 11% of our forest reserves are gone.
It's gone, yeah.
11% is a huge number.
Extremely.
It's a huge number, you know. So and this is flora and fauna that is required for the sustenance of the entire country. And a few people. And they're getting support. We're paying lip service to this because you're not going to ADM. I'm not there. I'm not seeing it. But you cannot have. I've seen fetus of a baby in the kidney pan. You know the kidney pan. The one it's about this big, and a 7-month-old fetus fits in it in the galamsey site. Why?
Yes. And yami mama, ne o kan no kre when you read the history. It's possible. Politicians here later. They'll hijack it. And when they're going to parliament, they are going to pass laws. Ghana penny me passing law. LI 246 said the bay. Near Trin who see a passes hammer. No more TV show cancel for. Now, finally, to President Mahama for an appointees, a wakakra tea.
And then we had elections, and then huge change. I mean, the outcome of the election says it all, but you referenced it. What's your verdict on the last 6 months?
It's early days yet. And I think every time there's a change of government, the government seems to have a period of some honeymoon period, so to speak, and people are accommodating, etc. I think that President Mahama, he made promises, and the thing for him to do is to try and keep the promises. Luckily, we've had some stability, particularly in the currency. There's been an appreciation of the cedi, and that seems to have stabilized around 11, 12 cedis. So it allows for planning, etc. Hopefully that continues. I think the difficulty is in keeping those promises, and the kind of political system we're operating in this country basically forces contestants to make promises, and then when they come, they have a difficulty meeting those promises. And that is where then you begin to have the challenge. So far, so good, but President Mahama has to be mindful of how his appointees deliver. It's going to be very difficult, and it's one of the reasons being the processes you go through to become president, and then the appointments you make. So, for instance, I have not seen or heard in the past probably 18 years any minister of a sector or a president criticize or question an appointee for non-performance. And you know why? It's because all these appointees are political affiliates. And so if the person say, let's say any of the parastatals, let's say VRA or ECG, the CEO, being a political appointee, is not performing. Now, this political appointee was part of the whole campaign train of the president when he was campaigning. He puts him there, and the person is not performing. It's very difficult for the sector minister, who is also a political appointee, to take on, say, the minister for power, if there's a minister for power, to take on the MD of VRA for non-performance. So anytime there's a problem with any sector, any ministry, you find the party, the minister, defending the position that, or the mismanagement or whatever it is. I have never come across any minister criticize, say, I will have you fired, or fire the CEO of a parastatal for non-performance. That is the problem, you see, and it's also because what we are practicing is not a meritocracy. Today, if Sally here wants to be a minister, all she has to do is join one of the political parties and become a communicator. The more noise you make whilst in opposition, the likely your chance of becoming a CEO of a parastatal or a minister or something like that. Yeah. That is not a meritocracy. You understand me? So once you have a situation like that, then it's going to be very difficult for the government in power to perform. If you are not held to account for your deeds as a minister or as a political appointee, it means that you can underperform. And that happened under Akufo-Addo. Yeah. You take the cigar companies, okay? All these parastatals, which one of them performed? Which one of them? Maybe SIC, they pay dividends, etc. But which one of them performed?
So what's your advice to John Mahama then?
I think that if you want the country to move forward, you must appoint people irrespective of their political inclination. and make sure that even if they are all NDC, make sure they are given the job on merit. Okay. And not because they made the most noise whilst we were in opposition.
Obi more number president sacking him. I catch also fifth your second term idiot. It's your legacy year. Your fifth term now already 4 years. That fifth term now away. I can't 3 years. It's your legacy year. The name John Mahama must be etched in gold. See a Bogan and Penifodi, Kwame Nkrumah, Ike Champon, J. Akufo, Rollins, Mills. Your leaders one by items are monumental. Your name should be there. It's your legacy year, Mr. President. Tia futui, never wow. The Biameka, say yes, man, if I'm fully in the air. A bembio essay bia, and what? Pray Akufo-Addo yanka. On one near. Offer some. Look at the verdict you are passing on him. How much more the ordinary Ghanaian? And at the Biamekano, the MPP lose election among frontiers and then Akufo-Addo say, well, middle class, oh. Middle class. No more Sikada bank. No more pensions. Almost on a tattoo about MPP for buku some na cratch for them. No mushroom musika. So you don't expect an MPP to win the election when these people's finances have been run down. To way any other interest to be. Oh wow. Both were basasa. Say come on. Dr. Michael Addo. Or basasa. Na brabono. Ayen basa. Be our bobra. Or build businesses from the scratch. Then the more room. At a point, Car Bank was the top 5 in Ghana. See, you must be say you care about the state of the economy. And how Ken Ofori-Atta ram this country economy down? Yanti say. Meritocracy, higher critical analyst channel. But some cause I did in view. Best subscribe there, man. Subscribe here. Click the bell notification and the video be tomorrow. Thank you so much for your massive support. Send the Ghana here and miss me as best subscribe. Bye bye.